Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to my evening news report right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. I'm broadcasting live here in our Washington, D.C. studio this evening. Let's begin this news report this evening. McConnell abruptly changes proposed rules for Trump's impeachment trial. Senator Majority Leader Mitch McConnell abruptly changed his proposed rules for President Donald Trump's impeachment trial, backing off the considered two-day schedule to add a third for opening arguments after protests from senators, including Republicans. The trial quickly burst into a partisan fight at the Capitol as the president's lawyers opened arguments Tuesday in support of McConnell's plan. Democrats objected loudly to McConnell's initially proposed rules, and some Republicans made their concerns known in private. Without comment, the Republican leader quietly submitted an amended proposal for the record after meeting behind closed doors with senators as the trial opened. He added the extra day and allowed House evidence to be included in the record. Chief Justice John Roberts gavelled open the session, senators having taken an oath last week to do impartial justice as jurors. Senators were stunned by McConnell's shift, and aides offered no immediate answer. But a spokeswoman for Republican Senator Susan Collins said that she and others had raised concerns. The Maine senator sees the changes as significant improvements, said spokeswoman Annie Clark. Democrats had warned that the rules package for Trump's ally, the Senate GOP leader, could force midnight session that would keep most Americans in the dark and create a shame proceeding. McConnell opened the chamber, processing a fair, even-handed process, and warned that the Senate would stay in session until his proposed rules package was adopted. The first test was coming as senators prepared to begin debate and vote on McConnell's proposed rules. The rare impeachment trial unfolding in an election year is testing whether Trump's actions toward Ukraine warrant removal at the same time that voters are forming their own verdict. His White House. Trump himself in Davos, Switzerland, for an economic conference denounced the proceedings as a total hoax, as he does daily, and said, "I'm sure it's going to work out fine." With Trump's presidency on the line and the nation deeply divided just weeks before the first Democratic primary contests for senators who are Also, presidential candidates will be off the campaign trail, seated as jurors. The Democrats say the prospect of middle-of-the-night proceedings without allowing new witness or even the voluminous House records of the trial would leave the public without crucial information about Trump's political pressure campaign on Ukraine and the White House's obstruction of the House impeachment probe. If the senators agree to McConnell's proposal for speedy trial and accurately Schiff said it will not prove the president innocent. It will only prove the Senate guilty of working with the president to obstruct the truth from coming out. Rep. Jerry Nadler, the Judiciary Committee chairman, also leading the House team, said there's no trial in this country where you wouldn't admit relevant witnesses. GOP Senator Mitt Romney of Utah, whose votes are being closely watched, said he was satisfied with the proposal, even as he hopes to hear from former National Security Advisor John Bolton, who had a front row seat to Trump's actions. On the night before the trial, Trump's lawyers argued for the swift rejection of a firmless change in the trial that never should have happened. Trump's legal team doesn't dispute Trump's actions that he called the Ukraine president and asked for a favor during a July 25th phone call. In fact, the lawyers included a rough transcript of Trump's conversation as part of its 110-page trial brief submitted ahead of the proceedings. Instead of the lawyers for the president, led by White House counsel Pat Cipollone and a TV famous legal team, including Allen, says the two charges against the president don't amount to impeachable offenses, and Trump committed no crimes. Legal scholars have long insisted the frames of the Constitution provided impeachment as a remedy for other high crimes and misdemeanors, a particularly broad definition that doesn't mean simply specific criminal actions. Democrats in prosecution in the case against the president point in particular to the General Accountable Office report that found the White House violated federal law by stealing money to Ukraine that had been approved by Congress. House Democrats responding Tuesday to arguments by Trump's legal team said the president's legal filing confirmed that his misconduct is indefensible. They wrote President Donald Trump's lengthy brief to the Senate is heavy on rhetoric and procedural grievance, but entirely lacks a legitimate defense of his misconduct. The president would rather discuss anything other than what he actually did, the Democrats wrote. The first several days of the trial are expected to be tangled in procedural motions playing out on the Senate floor and behind closed doors. Senators must refrain from speaking during the trial proceedings. Roberts administered the oath to one remaining senator, James Infull, who was attending a family medical issue in Oklahoma last week, with the other senators vowed an oath and signed the oath book. Also Tuesday, the House Democrat managers overseeing the impeachment case asked Cipollone, the president's lead lawyer at the trial, to disclose any first-hand knowledge he has of the charges against Trump. They said evidence gathered so far indicates that Cipollone is a material witness to the allegations at hand. House Democrats impeached the Republican president last month on 2 charges: abuse of power by withholding U.S. military aid to Ukraine, as he pressed the country to investigate Democrat rival Joe Biden in obstruction of Congress by refusing to cooperate with their investigation. The Constitution gives the House the sole power to impeach a president, and the Senate the final verdict by conveying as the impeachment court for a trial. The president late Monday named 8 House Republicans, some of his finest defenders, to a special team tasked with rallying support beyond the Senate chamber in the court of public option. No president have ever been removed from office by the Senate with its 53-47 Republican majority. The Senate is not expected to mount the 2/3 voted needed to convict. Even if it did, the White House team argued it would be an unconstitutional conviction because the articles of impeachment were too broad. And that does it for my evening news report, live here in our Washington, D.C. studio. I'm Riley King. I hope you all have a wonderful night, everyone. And I'll see you back here tomorrow for another news report. Good night and bye, everyone.